All right, guys, below on the webpage here, you're gonna find tubing. The very first row, you're gonna see tubing in bulk, so you can cut it to any size length that you want. So we sell it by the foot. Otherwise, below the bulk tubing, we have individual, like usually 6-foot jumpers that are pre-made depending on what kind of connection you need. If you're buying a kit from us, it's gonna come with 5/16 ID tubing with 5/16 barbs and then hex nuts. There's the hex nuts and the beer threads that these connect to will connect to any jockey box. So any input on any jockey box. The other thing that it's going to connect to is any beer coupler. The top of any beer coupler, the side of any beer coupler is a hex nut. Now, hex nuts need usually a crescent wrench to tighten down. If you don't want to do that, you can also upgrade to a wing nut. So we have a wing nut option down there as well, which is just basically has tabs on the side of the threads here that allow you to hand tighten it. The other thing that we have, like all these hex nuts are connected to a barb, and barbs either come in a 90-degree angle or they come with a straight tailpiece. So our pre-made jockey box or jumper box dispensing kit jumpers come with 190 and they come with one straight. And we do that because the straights usually work well on the top of a beer coupler. On the beer out is usually straight, and then the 90 is usually in. So if I open this beer jumper, these are front input jockey boxes, but it doesn't really matter. But jockey boxes, when it connects the 90 degree, what it does is it angles the tubing down and out of the way. So whether your connection's on the front of the jockey box or the back of the jockey box, the tubing's down and out of the way. So we use clear for the beverage side so we can see inside of it, and then we typically use blue for the gas side just so there's you can see the difference. Now, if you want to go from a standard Sankey D beer coupler, which has the hex nut fittings on it, if you want to go from a Sankey D to a ball lock fitting, so if you're using Corny kegs, all you have to do is either buy a pre-made jumper with one hex nut on one side that goes to your jumper or jockey box, and then a ball lock connection on the other side. And so you have there's three pieces to this. There's the ball lock coupler. Black is for liquid, white is for gas. And then there's a MFL hex nut, and then there's a tiny barb for it, 5/16 barb, because we're using 5/16 ID tubing. So there's three pieces that go together, they connect, they screw together. That gives you a ball lock connection with a 5/16 barb, which goes onto the end of the tubing. So if you want to swap it out, you can just take some scissors and cut off the tubing here and then add your ball lock fitting on the end of it. Otherwise, get a 5/16 jumper that doesn't have any connections on it, or buy your tubing in bulk and cut it yourself to whatever length that you want, and then add your tubing. So you put the barb on the end of the tubing, and then you would clamp it down with a hose clamp. So don't forget your hose clamps. Also, don't forget that any connection that you have, like this is metal on metal, so if you're going the barb to the jumper or jockey box and tightening it down, the other piece that you need are beer washers. There has to be a rubber beer washer that goes between your two metal connections, right? So that goes inside of it, and then you would screw it on here. So all of our jumpers come with the beer washers zip tied to it. But I always tell people that call and ask, well, is there anything extra that I'll need? I typically tell people buy extra beer washers because they get lost easily, especially if you're taking your system apart a lot. These beer washers get lost easily, so have a bunch of them on hand. And then I also like to tell people to zip tie them to the inside of your jockey box or jumper box. Just zip tie them to the coils, that way you've got them in case of an emergency. So yeah, if there's any questions on any of that, reach out, support@coldbreakusa.com.